Hey everyone, it's Ms. Bell here in the science lab again, and I am going to show you guys an experiment that's called rain in a jar or rain in a cup, depending on what you use. For this experiment, I'm actually doing two different versions. One where it just shows kind of a regular rainy day, and then another version where it shows you kind of a representation of what it might look like during a heavy-duty thunderstorm. So with this experiment, you're going to need some materials, and what those materials are a jar or a cup. It needs to be clear. You're going to need 3 of these total for both versions, so 3 total. You're also going to need something to stir. It could be a spoon, it could be maybe your finger, it could be a stirring rod. For myself, since I'm using food coloring, I don't want to stain my hands, so I'm wearing a glove. You can wear it or you cannot. It's your choice. You're going to need blue food coloring, and you're also going to need something that will turn water black. I do not have black food coloring, but it does exist, but I have black paint, so I'm using blue food coloring and black paint. You're going to need shaving cream. You can even try this with shaving gel. It's a little bit different consistency on how it sprays out of the bottle, but that's what science is all about. You get to experiment and try different ways. You're also going to need water, and I just have like a little pitcher right here of tap water. Doesn't have to be cold or hot or warm, just kind of room temperature. And then you're going to need some sort of eyedropper or pipette. If you don't have something like this, you could carefully pour from the cup, or you could use like a spoon to get the liquid and then disperse the liquid from one container to the other container in that way. But those are all the materials you're going to need. Easy peasy, very simple. So let's get started. Alrighty, for this experiment, like I mentioned, we're going to do 2 different versions. The first version, you're going to need 2 cups, preferably clear, especially one of them needs to be clear, and we're going to be using the blue food coloring, an eyedropper or a pipette, and then if you have black food coloring, you could use that. However, I'm going to use black colored paint. You'll also need water, which I have in here, just a jug of water straight out of the tap. And for the second version, you're only going to need 1 clear cup and the blue food coloring, and shaving cream is what we're going to be using in both versions. So for the first version, I'm going to pour water about halfway in one, and I just need maybe a quarter or a third way full in the other. For the cup that has half of the water filled up in the cup, I'm going to squeeze, probably just start with 1 drop of blue food coloring. You can use a spoon to stir these, or you can use a stirring rod or a toothpick or a stick or whatever you have handy just to stir those and get them fully dissolved. In my cup that's over here, I'm going to pour my black paint. Now I want it to be pretty dark, so I'm actually adding a lot to it, and I'm just gonna head and use that same stirring spoon because it's alright. I want to be careful when I'm stirring because I don't want to knock anything over. And I kind of want to test it. When I pick this up, is it really black or dark in color? Is it opaque? Can I see through it? I kind of want it dark with my experiment, so that's why I added a lot. And with this experiment, we are going to be using the eyedropper or the pipette, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it in that cup. For my second experiment, all I need is water. Again, I'm going to fill it halfway, and it's going to represent the same thing that my blue cup represents. Okay, so here's my one version, here's my second version. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. Now the one over here that's clear, just straight up water, that represents our atmosphere, and so does this. However, this represents like a dark thunderstorm where the sky gets pitch black and it's hard to see anything out in the distance. There's thunder and lightning, and it can get kind of scary. And this just will represent rain falling, but it's just a little bit lighter in color. So in both of these cups, I'm going to spray shaving cream. Oh, might help if the lid is off. Silly Miss Belle. Okay. I don't want too much, but the shaving cream represents clouds. So again, this represents our atmosphere, like all up in the sky. And when water heats up from the sun, it evaporates and it rises, and eventually condenses and mixes with all the particles up in the sky, like dust and dirt and pollen, and they all kind of connect and join together and they form clouds. Sometimes we get really poofy clouds, kind of like these, or we get ones that are a little bit thinner or more stretched out, or go really far off into the distance to where you can't see them anymore. But the shaving cream in this experiment represents our clouds. Now over here in the just the water clear water cup, I'm going to take my blue food coloring and I'm going to drop some blue food coloring droplets, and eventually I'm going to add so much moisture to my cloud that it's no longer going to be able to stay up there. All that weight from the water is going to build up, and it's going to get so heavy that it will eventually fall. And this represents rain falling high up in the clouds down to the earth, down to where it plops us on the top of our head, or hits the ground, or goes straight into the ocean. So that represents rain. Now over here it's going to be a little bit darker, because again this represents my thunderstorm. So here I have my black liquid. I'm going to move this over. I have my black liquid that I created with just water and my black colored paint, and I'm going to use my eyedropper to grab some of that, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing that I did over on the other side with the blue food coloring, but now I'm dropping black so that you can see what it would look like on a dark, stormy night. You hear the thunder, you see the lightning, you go outside and you see all the crazy heavy rain that's happening, and this is what it would look like. So on the left you can see just kind of regular rain, and then on the right you can see the dark, stormy rain. And I'm adding a lot more liquid over here to my cup on the right, because I really want that black liquid to seep through my clouds or my shaving cream to get a nice visual effect so that you can see that stormy weather. I'm just going to let that sit there and let you look at what's happening. You know what? I'm even going to zoom in a little closer. So again, the space underneath the shaving cream, that represents our atmosphere, our sky, all the air that we breathe, all this space right here. And the shaving cream that I sprayed into the top of the cups, that represents the clouds that get created when the sun heats up the water all on the ground. That water gets so hot that it starts to evaporate and it rises up into the sky, and it starts mixing with different types of particles all up in the sky, like dust and pollen and dirt, and they kind of combine, and all those particles create clouds. And then all of that moisture up in the sky inside the clouds can stay up there, but as soon as the moisture collects into a weight that gets so heavy it can't hold it anymore, that water eventually will begin to fall back down to the ground as part of the water cycle. And you were able to see this representation of what it looks like when it rains. Now over here you can see my dark stormy night during my thunderstorm, and then over here was just kind of my basic rainy day.